I love Vince too. Yeah, we have a great crew. They screw up every once in a while, but yeah, they're great most of the time.
You pick on Vince a lot.
No, Vince and I are close. Yeah, Vince and I are close. We're buddies.
We have a lot to talk about, Derek, including the Super Bowl that is set. We have plenty of college basketball going on. That's what happens here in the late January into early February. I will let you select the topic that you would like to lead with because it basically is 1 and 1A.
Purdue, Indiana week. I think you have to lead Purdue, Indiana, right? Especially because I think both of those teams are very relevant right now for different reasons. I don't want to keep rehashing the Mike Woodson conversation every single week on the show. I think we fell into that kind of last year when, remember, last season just kind of took a nosedive. And right now, it just appears that things are maybe moving beyond the point of no return. Correct. Now, I say that if IU were to go to Mackey and win on Friday, that changes the conversation, right? Like, that's all it takes, Jake. It's not hard to make the NCAA tournament. One really big win can tremendously, tremendously help you. But you looked at it last week. Indiana goes to Ohio State and wins, and they're very fortunate to win that game, right? Luke Goody hits that big three-pointer. They win the game in overtime. And you feel like, okay, they temporarily saved the season. You got a week here where you're at Northwestern, who's okay. You know, Northwestern's okay. They're not a good team. They're not a bad team. They're fine. And then you got Maryland at home. Now, Maryland's really surging right now. Maryland's got a lot of talent, but still, you're at home. You should win those games. In the Big Ten, you should win the games at home. It is very, very difficult to win on the road in the Big Ten. And Indiana really kind of gets outclassed by Northwestern late in that second half. That game turned, and then it never turned back. Maryland, they come all the way back, and it's not that they lost, right? A lot of teams lose. Illinois lost to Maryland. A lot of teams are losing to Maryland. It's the way they lost. Yep. And it's the way they looked losing. And the confusion and the discombobulation at the end of that game, it just appeared to me to be a team that had no idea what it was doing. And that can't happen when you have a lot of guys on that roster who have played a tremendous amount of college basketball. In Ballo and Renew and Mbako and, Trey Galloway's been there for 17 years. Yep. Those guys have to know what they're doing. Mike Woodson has coached for 40 years. He and his staff have to know what they're doing, and it didn't look like they knew what they were doing in that situation.
Okay, a couple of things here, Derek. First, at the end of that game, we don't have to go over it, I guess, frame by frame. Everybody knows by now, right? Mm-hmm. It was a disaster. A disaster. You had a foul to give.
Yeah.
You give up a three. You go down one. You come down. You got a timeout. You take it too early. You then try to get an inbound. You get the ball with 3.9 seconds left. You panic.
And the first play was all discombobulated. They were lucky that Maryland knocked that ball out of bounds because I thought to myself, okay, this will allow them to reset because that was a dead play walking.
Right.
And then the confusion just remained. Go ahead.
There's 3.9 seconds left. Mm-hmm. They panic. They realize they have the wrong personnel on the floor. They call a play. Then they realize, oh, wait a minute, we got to get 5 different guys in. They make a mass substitution, but they don't tell the guys going in what the play is. Then, when you only need 2, you go for a 3 in the corner from the guy that would be like the least likely you want shooting that 3 as he's falling out of bounds.
Well, 2 guys go to the corner, right? They go to the same spot.
Yeah, 2 guys went to the same spot, right? You had Mike Woodson apparently, and I wanted to make sure that I saw what I saw because I was watching on television. And I'm like, is Woodson yelling at an assistant who's yelling back at Woodson during this timeout? And are players yelling at each other? And I talked to people down there that were very close to it that said, yeah, you did not see that incorrectly. Everyone was yelling at each other. And then the game ends, and Woodson's walking off the floor, and apparently he yells at a fan, and then he forgets to go through the handshake line, and Luke Goody has to turn around and put him through the handshake.
Yeah.
It's over. Unless Indiana, and I don't mean that, with spite. I don't mean that even in hoping that that's the case, but unless Indiana goes on an incredible run here, and I'm talking an NC State of, was that last year?
Yeah, last year. Final Four.
Last year.
And won the ACC, yeah.
Or an Indiana 0-2 Final Four run, something barring that, then Indiana is going to thank Mike Woodson for his service and move along. This just is, at this point, and look, I don't know Mike Woodson, Derek. I have no reason to believe him anything other than a fine man. Nothing of this is a personal statement. But the direction of the program, I think there was the thought process that Mike Woodson, when he got the job, was going to be a 4 or 5 year transitional guy until a Thad Matta or Dane Fife would then take over, and he was just going to solidify it and then turn it around. Those guys aren't there. There doesn't seem to be much direction. There seems to be a lot of confusion, and there seems to be a ton of dissension. In addition to that, they don't have likable players, and I don't mean them as people. I mean the students are jeering Ballo. The students are jeering Mackenzie Mbako. They're booing Trey Galloway. All of it is ugly. All of it.
Yeah.
And I think Indiana, this is the interesting thing. Indiana now has 2 games on the road. They go to Purdue, and they go to, I believe, Wisconsin, right? It's been a house of horrors.
Yeah.
Then they come home. Let's just say hypothetically that they drop those 2 games, which is very plausible.
It's likely with where we sit right now.
If they drop those 2 games, they will enter their next home game as losers of 6 of 7. And guess who's the coach on the other sideline?
Dusty, right? Yeah.
Dusty May.
Yeah.
Who is going to be one of 2 prime candidates Indiana's going to go after. They're going to call Brad Stevens, and then they're going to go after Dusty May. And then after that, probably a Bruce Pearl or a Chris Collins enters the conversation if those guys turn it down. But this has the possibility of getting pretty uncomfortable pretty quickly.
And to manage expectations, look at the Kentucky and Louisville job searches. Both of those jobs are better jobs than Indiana. And look at those searches and how they went last year. Both of those teams had to settle. Now, they lucked out because Pat Kelsey's done an amazing job.
Yeah.
Mark Pope's been tremendous at Kentucky, but Mark Pope was like their 6th choice. Pat Kelsey was like Louisville's 7th choice. And so, Indiana, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, right? When it comes to the coaching things, but you're going to have to manage your expectations.
But the bridge is getting pretty close on the map.
Yeah, it's getting pretty close. Zach Osterman of the Indy Star made a great analogy. He said something about how, it feels like the season is kind of tumbling to the canvas. And that's what Indiana is right now. They're the pummeled boxer that can't see because both of his eyes are bloodied, right? And they're bleeding and they're kind of teetering. And you've got a stretch here at Purdue, at Wisconsin, Michigan at home, at Michigan State. That's their next 4. And it's very likely that the knockout blow, heck, it may be as soon as Friday night, ends up getting delivered. Because you think Purdue's not looking at this, licking their chops and saying, hey, here's our chance. They already lost to Mackey once, and they just did it a couple of weeks ago to Ohio State. It's just we keep doing the same thing over and over again where Indiana is the offseason champion and wow, look at all this talent. And look, I fall into the trap too. I'm not mocking the people that do this, okay? You look at the roster on paper and you're like, wow, like 5-star, 4-star, this guy did this transfer did this at a Power 4 school. Wow, awesome. Look at how athletic they are and look at them in open practice and Midnight Madness and oh my God, he threw it off the backboard himself and he dunked it in. And then the games start and they can't play. And there's no direction and there's no cohesion and everything at Indiana is falling short. It's just it's the program that no one does less with more.
But Derek, here's the
last
thing.
20 years than Indiana.
Here's the thing.
25 years.
Here's the thing. They're falling short of what? What they were 25 years ago?
No, but here's the thing.
But
okay,
again, hear me out.
I'll hear you out. Yeah.
I'm not saying it argumentatively to you. I'm saying it rhetorically. We keep saying that Indiana basketball is falling short of what? Maybe our expectations and our reality is falling too high, too tall. Because what is Indiana historically for the last 20 years? They're a middling Big Ten program. They're a program that makes the tournament every 4 years. They're a program that and it's not just Mike Woodson. Same thing with Archie Miller. Romeo Langford's going to Indiana, hang a banner. All right, Dad's going to stand there with the sweatband talking to, all right, everybody come up here and talk to my kid. And we're going to have his minister is going to talk for 20 minutes before he announces on YouTube with all these people going nuts. For what? So he can hang out in the corner and average 13 and a half a game and go bust out and play in the G League? Welcome to Indiana basketball, right? I mean, what is the reality of Indiana been in the 2000s? Barring one very fun Final Four run, and then 2 Sweet 16 runs, or maybe there were more than that, but an anomaly there with Tom Crean. Outside of that, what are they?
You're not wrong. What they've done?
They're Minnesota.
But let me ask you this question: if you add everything up, history, facilities, budget, fan support, recruiting, Indiana slots where in the country? A top 10 program, a top 15, a top 20?
I would say at one time it was top 5. Now it's somewhere between 6 and 12.
Okay. Well, if it's between a top 6 and 12 program, they're falling well short of that,
No,
right?
right.
That's what I mean. I'm not sitting here.
But Derek, now you told me to add in history, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take the history out. 30.
You know what? Even if we took the history out with their NIL and everything else, this is, I think, unquestionably a top 20 program. You're not going to find 30 programs that are in a better spot.
Again.
Even taking the banners out.
Again. Are you talking about what it has the possibility of being or what it has been?
Yes. What it has the possibility of being. That is what I'm basing Indiana on. I'm not asking them to be Kansas. I'm not asking them to be Duke and Carolina. Those days are over. That's been over.
I have the possibility, okay? I have the possibility of being a super fit buff guy. But that means I got to do a lot of things that I haven't done in a long time, and you know what I mean?
Yes, but this is I think it is realistic to expect Indiana to be a top 20 program in college basketball, is it not?
No, that's fair.
It is realistic to expect that, and they're falling well short of that. That's my whole point. You know, every criticism of Indiana is met with, "Oh, you're being crazy. The fans are being crazy. They're not a blue blood anymore." Fine. I'm not asking them to be a blue blood. I'm asking them to be Wisconsin.
Right.
You know, can you be Wisconsin? And they're falling short of even that. So it stinks. As somebody that is not emotionally invested in Indiana anymore, but still would like to see them to succeed, it's hard to watch, and it's frustrating to still see just the same cycle happen over and over, where it's all about talent accrual, and it's not about fit. And there's no expectation, and there's no standard there, and there's no solid ground for the program to stand on, and it's just a sad state of affairs. Again, they just keep failing over and over and over again. And here's Purdue, and they're what Indiana was 30 years ago, where you bring in these players and they get better.
Totally.
And people look at, I remember Indiana fans with that backcourt with Fletcher Loyer and Braden Smith, and they're like, Braden Smith, this guy? Like, Fletcher Loyer, look at how skinny he is. Fletcher Loyer is 15 times the player that Trey Galloway would ever be in his dreams.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to say that Fletcher Loyer is some great player, but they point and laugh. Oh, Xavier Johnson? Braden Smith is 100 times the player that Xavier Johnson was already.
Braden Smith.
And he's 2.5 years into his career.
Braden Smith is the college basketball equivalent of Tyrese Halliburton. He is a fabulous point guard and floor general that makes his team better when he is offensively aggressive at getting his own shot and trying to score and then facilitating. And when you see that he does that, that's what they eviscerated Michigan. And they did it because that guy right there, Braden Smith, was aggressive offensively. That opens everything up. When Purdue does that, they're really, really good. That's their key. Their key is that guy right there getting his shot and then using that to get everybody else involved.
Yeah, I mean, he takes over games, and it's crazy because you look at him and you say, how is that guy taking over games, right? And Indiana, really outside of Trace Jackson Davis, they haven't had a guy like that. Jalen Hood-Schifino, when he was really right, like the game at Mackey, I mean, he took over that game. But on a consistent basis, Braden Smith takes over the game. TJD took over games. Indiana hasn't had that guy, even for all the talent that they've had in there. But it just... You're right, Jake. I think we've both kind of been around this long enough. You just get, and I hate to base it all on vibes, but you just get the feeling, right? And Indiana just doesn't look like a team that is about to bounce back.
No.
Remember the 2018 Colts? They started 1-5, and people were shoveling dirt on them because they were 1-5. But you looked at them and you were like, this team's better than this, and they're going to figure it out. And they did, right? And they went on a big run, and that was the only season in the Chris Ballard tenure that they ended up winning a playoff game, and I just don't see that with Indiana. I don't see them hitting their potential now at the turn at 5-5.
There's no reason to believe this is going to turn around, right?
No, it's just it's a sad state of affairs. While we're doing a basketball roundup, let's fit in the Pacers as well. As bad as they looked on Tuesday, they looked that good on Saturday.
What I say about Halliburton?
Yeah.
When Halliburton is offensively aggressive and getting his shot early, that opens up everything because defenses have to come out and respect him, and then he's able to either first step get to the basket or spread the ball around. And they had 8 players in double figures. Yeah. I mean, solid. That's who they are, and that's who. There's no reason to believe they shouldn't be. They come back and they start back, stateside here with Detroit tomorrow night. If you're watching this on Tuesday night, they got the Pistons on Wednesday. Improved Pistons team for sure.
Yeah.
A little bit of a bubbling rivalry there, but you get that, and you're on about your way again.
Yeah, 25-20. I mean, they're in a good spot. Gave up a $140 to the Spurs, and then turned around and almost scored a $140 themselves, and then held them to 98. I don't know how you do that. How you hold a team 50 points in between two games. And it was cool. It was cool to get. You had the All-Star game here last year that Indianapolis hosted, right? And Halliburton, they got to push him up to the front, and then the Paris games, I don't know how many people nationally even realized that the Pacers and Spurs were in Paris, but still, you had a dedicated window.
Right.
Afternoon basketball, you were the only game in town. It's cool for the Pacers. The Knicks or the Lakers or the Bulls, they go and do that stuff, and it's like, whatever. They're the Knicks, the Celtics. They're prominent franchises who are on primetime all the time. For the Pacers to get to do that, I think it's pretty cool. And it's good to have that exposure. The Pacers need more exposure. I want more people to watch them play. They're fun to watch. They're good. And they're a good team right now.
Here's an interesting thing for Indiana to watch here over the course of the next, especially starting probably after Valentine's Day. 3 guys. Aaron Nesmith now coming back into the mix, right? Ben Shepherd, who's played well. Jarris Walker, who's starting to play well. Of those 3 guys, Obi Toppin, I'll put him in there as well, who just got engaged. Those 4 guys, there's realistically probably room for 2, maybe 3 in a full rotation. And who gets squeezed out? My feeling is it might be Ben Shepherd because Walker's young enough. I think you want to continue him on the trajectory to let him grow because he's finally taken steps, so you don't want to stunt him back down again. But it'll be
He's going to have to stay on this trajectory, though, because
Right.
Carlisle's not going to be afraid to play the guys that help them win. So
Right.
if Shepherd is playing better than him, he's going to play Shepherd, not think about the future.
Well, I mean, I like Shepherd.
Yeah.
I like Shepherd a lot. I think Shepherd is probably closer to his ceiling than is Walker.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Yeah, Walker has more potential just because athletically he's more gifted.
It's like any room we walk into, I'm closer to the ceiling than you. But
Height-wise, yeah.
Right. But in terms of
like potential and all that, I mean, you're on the downside of your career. I'm still on the upswing.
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What upswing?
Still, my arrow is still kind of going like this, whereas yours is, I mean, it's not like going like down, right? I mean, you've got a radio show, you've been mildly successful. It's kind of just like going like this because you're getting older.
Well,
So the sex appeal is going away and all of that.
No.
Yeah.
No. Derek, but let me ask you, this trajectory that you're on currently is of what?
I mean, like a rocket ship? I mean, what you want me to compare it to something?
Tell me.
I mean, a rocket ship goes straight up. I don't know if I'm going straight up. I'm going
resume-wise, though. You're speaking of what?
Well, Schultz Media LLC had its best year in 2024. I don't know why you're laughing. That's a factual statement. Doing really well. Yeah, I'm getting asked to do a lot of endorsements and public appearances and to write and
Schultz
to talk.
Media LLC.
Yeah, it's my company. So I own my own company, and yeah, like the stuff from this like feeds into the Schultz Media LLC.
How many employees do you have?
0 to 5. Yeah, 0 to 5.
Okay. Did you have to create your own taxes and stuff?
Oh yeah. I have an accountant.
Okay.
Handles all that.
You
stuff.
have an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a whole team. I mean, I have a stylist, Carly. I have a lawyer and Josh.
You have a stylist?
Yeah, an agent. Yeah. So all that.
Okay.
I have a whole team of people. See, you don't think about any of this stuff because you're old media.
Are they getting
like this is how it goes now. This is the people that are like this have all of this stuff. The people that are like this don't.
Are they getting you a lot of gigs?
I get all kinds of gig work. Yeah.
You know, we took a picture, for example. We went to and thank you for having us out to the IU Indy game, which was great fun, right, on Saturday?
Yeah, it was great.
And IU Indy said, we got to get a picture. And I said, okay. And I leaned in on the picture, and it's myself and the mayor, Brian Brazzi, great dude. They squeezed your son made part of the picture, and you were squeezed out.
Yeah, I there must have been a camera malfunction or something like that. I'm not sure. That was
they
obviously
were unaware
not
of the presence of Schultz
That was
LLC.
obviously not intentional while I was sitting there courtside. Let's get to our Hoagie and Hero of the Week. We got plenty of football to talk about, and that's a little teaser for our Hoagie and Hero of the Week. This is the Shipyard tuna sandwich. And I say this every time. I know what you're thinking. Tuna sandwich. Make a tuna sandwich at home. Why would I order a tuna sandwich at a restaurant? This is, and I'm not normally a tuna fish person. This is the best tuna sandwich I've ever had in my life.
It's very good.
House-made tuna sal. Little prove, little L, little T, little O, little OO.
Can you tell people what that is,
Little
please?
Peppadoo Pep. And the secret ingredient,
Lettuce, tomato, olive oil.
onion, too.
Onion.
LTOOO. Keep up. Peppadoo Pep and the secret ingredient, parm. Who thought to put parm on a tuna sandwich? And it's just on the Luisio's
Parmesan.
bread from South Jersey.
Now, matching perfectly with that, the built to last. I guess you could say that like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles, more importantly, when you're talking about Hoagies and Hops, are built to last. Nick Sirianni's group. And I was thrilled to think about the people that are watching the viewing parties at Chili Water and Hoagies and Hops for the Philadelphia Eagles that will be in the Super Bowl. This is the German Pilsner. It is smooth as can be. I mean, when you want to talk about just refreshing, crisp beer right here, the German Pilsner or the built to last.
Und German. Oh, boy.
Very smooth. That's a good beer.
It's a
from
good
Chili
pills.
Water.
It's a good pills.
It is a very good Pilsner.
So
from
Donnie,
Chili.
the
Chili
kitchen
Water's
manager,
great
told me.
because it's right there next to Hoagies and Hops. They got all kinds. I mean, you want to talk about, they have a Mexican lager, they have a dark lager, they've got right here the German
And this is
Pilsner.
always on tap.
Yeah,
This is one of their core
fabulous.
4 beers with One Hop Wonder and Blood on the Tracks. And who am I missing out of that? I'm missing one of the other ones out of that. But yeah, really, 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 really good beers besides their seasonal beers. Hero of the week, let's keep it Philly. Saquon Barkley, man. Scored on his first touch of Sunday's game. He's just, Jake, he's having one of those seasons. You know what I mean? Where it's special. It's historic. It's incredible. Like, you will remember Saquon Barkley's they could lose the Super Bowl. You will remember Saquon Barkley's 2024 season. 2,000 yards. He's been a monster in the playoffs. 147 yards a game.
Was he starting to enter into bust category?
No,
I know it was health.
I would say that Saquon Barkley was kind of like Chris Webber, where he was still good and really good. He just wasn't what he was advertised to be with the Giants. Right? I always use Webber for that, and I feel like Chris Webber had a terrific career, but Chris Webber was supposed to be like Kevin Garnett.
Right.
Like, Chris Webber was supposed to like change the NBA. He didn't change anything. He was a good player. He was a Hall of Fame player, but he wasn't. You know, I don't think a lot of people in 50 years will be like, hey, remember that Chris Webber game? Like,
right.
Maybe at Michigan, but not as far as him being a king or in Washington or wherever else. Barkley scored 5 touchdowns in their 3 playoff wins, 442 yards, rushed for over a hundo in 14 of his 20 games. He's likely going to have 2,500 rushing yards when you account for the Super Bowl as well. I mean, it's an all-time season. It's incredible. And Philly was already really good, but you can already see what he brought to the table for that team. And, you know, that's another franchise, Jake. I tweeted about this. The Patriots and Chiefs have kind of clouded our perspective of what is great. If you look at this century for the Eagles, they have been an unbelievable franchise. I mean, 8 NFC championship games. This is their 4th Super Bowl appearance. They have 1 ring with 1 pending, potentially. They've won the division, I think, 11 times in that span. They've got like 14 winning seasons. They've been one of the class franchises of the NFL. I mean, they've been the Cowboys or, you know, the Steelers or, you know, what that level of franchise here in the 2000s so far.
Philadelphia is going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Their offense they have too many weapons. They're aggressive defensively. Philadelphia is going to win the Super Bowl.
I'm done picking against the Chiefs.
I understand.
I'm done. I was convinced this was the year Baltimore or Buffalo were going to get them, and they still didn't get them. I was convinced last year was the year they were going to get them. And that's no offense to Philadelphia. Can Philadelphia win the Super Bowl? Absolutely, they can win the Super Bowl. But I'm done. I'm not picking against Kansas City again until it happens. And I will say this, the top of the AFC was far better than the top of the NFC, especially with the Lions' injuries.
Fair.
So I do think that, you know, there was a different road for the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs didn't have to go through both Baltimore and Buffalo.
I am not, and I typically fatigue with the notion of, well, the refs had it, you know, the fix was in. I don't buy that. But Buffalo got screwed.
Let's talk about that.
Occasions.
Let's talk about that when we come back. Okay. How about it? All right. 42nd and Boulevard, hoagiesandhops.com, catering, Super Bowl parties. Hell, if you want to go, if you want to have a fun time, even if you're not an Eagles fan, have you ever been in there for a watch? Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's packed to the gills. They're loud. They do the chants, the fly, Eagles, fly, and the whole deal. A lot of fun, as long as you don't hate the Eagles. You can go over there to Hoagies and Hops, 42nd Boulevard and Chili Water Tap Room and grab yourself a Built to Last or any number one of their delicious beers. We come back on the show, conspiracy theories, but the refs, and all of it. We'll jump into it here on Query and Schultz, presented by Bailey & Wood Financial Group on the ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC, which games are we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC,
Nice snap.
mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey & Wood presents Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network, alongside Jake Query. I'm the very handsome and comfortable Derek Schultz. Thanks to our friends at Bailey & Wood Financial Group, the proud presenting sponsors of Query and Schultz. 855-350-HOME, BAWFG.com for our friends at Bailey & Wood Financial Group. We got a
Great
bunch
company,
of their swag that's up here. Wonderful Indiana company that pours themselves not only with their money, but time and effort and fundraising strength into their local communities, especially on the south side.
You know how you can tell that a family-owned business is doing it the right way? Is when a family-owned business, you see the younger generation of the family like enthusiastically wanting to get involved with the company because they've seen it as they were growing up, the way it helps people and how people enjoy it. And that's what you get with Bailey & Wood, right? I mean, Mike's kids are around and helping and enthusiastic about it because they want to be a part of something that makes people happy and helps them. And that's what you get with Bailey & Wood. It is the definition of like Hoosier value, homegrown, family-owned business.
Yeah, Bailey runs their marketing efforts, which they do a great job with in their advertising. And then you see Walker in the commercials. You see Wrigley sometimes in there as well. And Mike's a great guy. Great family, great kids, great company that he's built. I remember when they were down in Whiteland off of 31 in their original office, and it had 3 rooms in it probably. And that was, nearly 20 years ago. And to see what they've become, it's there's a reason why they've become what they've become. That doesn't happen by accident. And they can help you with your pre-approval for a home mortgage or to refi as well. 855-350-HOME, 5-star customer service at BAWFG.com. Let's talk about the refs because I agree with you. I think the play that people are hyper-focusing on is the Bills were trailing 22-21, and they're at midfield at the very beginning of the fourth quarter, and they go for it on a 4th and 1, I think, and they try to do kind of the tush push with Josh Allen, and it appears in live time that he crosses the line. I think the problem is that I think the officials were looking at the replay too literally, and what I mean by that is they're looking for the ball and you can't see the ball. Because I think Chris Jones blocked the best angle that you could see. But where his body was clearly shows that the ball had crossed the plane of where he needed to cross.
Not only that, Derek, the play before it.
Well, the spot was short to begin with.
Correct.
Yes, you're right. I mean, they had the first down to start with.
Right.
But it was compounded by the fact that after review, I think they were going with, we can't overturn that because we can't see the ball. Whereas clearly the ball was with Allen and over the line.
How do we not have
I don't know.
above field angles?
I don't know.
Now, secondly, how about the play?
Microchip the ball.
That seems to be the easiest answer, right?
Microchip it. You could do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm not a scientist or a genius.
But what about the play? And I don't remember exactly when it was, so you'll have to correct me. But I thought it was an interception.
The simultaneous catch, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't even a catch. The ball gets sandwiched into the ground. And it was just here's the thing. And I want to be clear here. I don't believe in like setups and conspiracies and they want Taylor Swift. I don't believe in all that. But it does get harder and harder to argue or push back against that notion because of this. Not the fact that there were questionable calls, but the immediacy with which they accepted those questionable calls. As if like, well, this isn't even up for debate. There just seemed to be a lack of urgency of looking hard into some of those things. That's all I'll say.
I think that the stars in the league and this goes for all leagues, I think it's especially the NBA, I think get the benefit of the doubt. I think that's always been the case. And maybe my perspective is different because I grew up in a market that never was us against the world. I mean, the teams that I grew up rooting for were the New York teams. Right? So you never worried about like conspiracies and we're the little guy and all of that. Right. Never, that was never my experience. So I'm naturally defensive when it comes to that, because the joke I always make is that, you know, when I came out here, I found out that the Pacers have actually never lost a legitimate playoff game in their entire history.
That's right.
I never knew that until I moved to Indiana, because people are just convinced that every single one of their losses, the refs took it away or there was some sort of conspiracy. So I agree with you. I mean, the fact that I think it takes away from how good the Chiefs are. But this is what happens, Jake, when you start to get into these dynasties, right? When LeBron's teams were going to the finals every year, people were mad about it. When the Brady's Patriots were going to the Super Bowl every year, people were mad about it. Mahomes' Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl every year, people are mad about it. And they want to point to things as to why this keeps happening, when I think in reality is they're just better than everybody else. And they just make winning plays all the time. I mean, even for all the officiating. And I'm not excusing it because I disagreed. It should have been a first down for the Bills, and that changes the game. It does. You know, first down at midfield, you're down 1 point at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Bills could have scored and scored a touchdown right there on that drive. Josh Allen and the Bills had the ball back 2.5 minutes left, down 3. And went 6 plays, 17 yards. Now, he made the throw. Kincaid dropped it, right? And a drop that people will remember. But they had the ball, down 3, 2.5 minutes left, and they still couldn't get it done. Whereas Mahomes, just like Brady's Patriots, every single time.
But you can't put that on.
For the most part,
you can't put that.
No, but I'm just saying those franchises, when it's winning time, they win, and the Bills don't. At least not so far.
Right.
And you know, I'm not blaming Josh Allen for that, but that's
they
just
had
the reality
so many
of the
chances
situation.
that I thought were taken away from them. That's what I'm getting at.
That's fair. I hate for everything to just kind of come down to.
I understand.
It's such a lazy explanation, right, for why things are. Well, it's rigged. Well, it goes against the script that they have played. You don't think the Buffalo Bills making the Super Bowl would be an amazing storyline for the NFL?
Right.
That'd be amazing. I mean, if anything, I think Chiefs-Eagles is kind of deflating. Right?
Derek. Nothing against
rematch?
Nothing against our friends at Hoagies and Hops.
I just saw it.
Totally.
I just saw it 2 years ago. I mean, Saquon's in there. Okay, yeah, some of the names and faces have changed, but for the most part, I don't want to see a rematch.
Am I the only person that feels this way? And I don't even know. I'm embarrassed to ask this. We're back to 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, right?
It's been that way for a long time. Yeah.
It's too long.
Yeah.
It's too drawn out.
Yeah.
Let's go. It's fatiguing. Kansas City and Philly is definitely okay.
Well, what's a little frustrating to me is that you're seeing all the anniversaries pop up. Like yesterday, the 26th was the Giants-Bills Super Bowl anniversary, and now we're 2 weeks away.
Right.
It just keeps pushing later,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
What is the Super Bowl like February 10th or something this year, isn't it? I mean, it's late. Or February 9th, I think. It's just getting later.
It's the 9th because it's the 9th because February 8th, the night before, Billy Joel's staying at Lucas Oil.
Oh, sweet.
And I'm going to that.
Sweet. Have you been to a Billy Joel show?
No. I'm actually more interested to see Sting.
Billy Joel's an amazing performer too, though.
I'm sure.
I bet Sting is great, but I've been to. I don't know. We counted. We tried to count up one time, and I think it was like 14 Billy Joel shows. Yeah, none since I was 16.
When did he have residency at MSG?
Oh, I don't know. That's where I always saw him, or Giant Stadium. We saw a Billy Joel Elton John show at Giant Stadium the night after Glenn Robinson was the first pick in the NBA draft, because I had a Basketball Weekly that I printed out, and we went to the concert, and I took it with me on the ride to into Jersey.
I was in New York City. That was when I was interning in New York.
Yeah.
94.
Yeah, summer 90. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then I saw Billy Joel at the Garden 99 turning into 2000. The night that
Glenn Robinson was the number one pick in the 94 draft, and the draft was where?
Oh, I only know it was here because Damon Bailey
Correct.
was drafted in the second round, right? And
Correct.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal. That would have been what was it? Glenn Robinson, Jason Kidd, Grant Hill draft?
Sure.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right.
Jalen would have been in there, wouldn't he?
Jalen Rose?
Yeah.
Next year. Garnett. Jalen Rose was in the Garnett draft, I think. Pretty sure. 95. No, 94?
No, Jalen would have been 94 because he came out after our junior year. Right?
Juwan Howard was 95 then. Juwan Howard stayed a year.
That's right.
Okay. Because I remember the Fab Five didn't all leave together,
Correct.
right? There was
That's
some carryover.
That's correct.
So Howard's team was the one that went to Assembly Hall and won because Rose and Weber would have been gone by then, right?
Correct.
Yeah. That ended the 56 game
Correct.
winning streak. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Took me a second, but
Mokhtar and Jai was on that team for Michigan. And who was the kid? Olivier St. Jean, was that his name?
yeah.
That changed his name and was really good.
Yeah, Tariq Abdul Wahad, I think he
Rose
became,
and Howard
right?
were both 94.
Yeah.
King and Jackson were in 95.
Okay. Yeah. Tariq Abdul Wahad.
That sounds right, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. They're good players.
Okay, so Howard wasn't on the 95 team.
It was Mokhtar and Jai. Mokhtar and Jai
Okay.
joined King and Jackson into that streak.
That's
in
right.
95.
Weber Penny was 93 draft. Rose Howard would have been like picks, 5 and 7 or something in 94. And Jackson and King never did anything in the NBA. I think Jimmy King might have been a second-round pick.
Correct.
But I don't think Ray Jackson played in the NBA at all.
I think that's right.
I might be wrong about that, but yeah. There we go. There's a little – that's something that's right in our wheelhouse, right? Like I would have been
They were
12,
my
13
class.
years old.
They
Yeah.
were my class in high school.
So right in your wheelhouse there. Not only Sting and Billy Joel, but there's another big event coming to Indianapolis. Coming up on Saturday. The Rumble.
Can you fill me in on that?
Rumble.
I'm not hip to that.
I'll fill you in on that when we come back. Okay. We also have quick hits to get to, too. We'll talk a little wrestling. We come back here. Query and Schultz, presented by Bailey and Wood Financial Group here on the ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Corey and Schultz rolling along here on this Tuesday. Whether you're watching us on ISC Sports Network, maybe you're watching us on YouTube. We have like 3 people that watch us on Twitch. Maybe you're watching on
Is that Caleb?
The Vimeo stream, ISCSportsNetwork.com. There are lots of places for you to watch. So maybe you're listening on podcast, so you can't even see us right now. Thanks so much for listening, supporting, tweeting, YouTube, commenting, the whole deal. It's been a lot of fun over these past couple of years. Going to be a lot of fun at Lucas Oil Stadium on Saturday night. They're expecting a record-setting crowd for the Rumble, which usually has been a basketball, like a 15,000, 20,000 seat arena event as opposed to a football stadium event.
Can you explain for me, and I'm being serious, the difference between Rumble and SmackDown?
Yeah, so SmackDown is a weekly reoccurring show, kind of like Raw.
Okay.
Where it's just the weekly shows that they do. They're the regular season games.
But this is for the WWE, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
SmackDown and Raw would be like a regular season game, whereas a regular pay-per-view for WWE, or what we used to call pay-per-view events, would be like a bowl game, like the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Royal Rumble would be like the Sugar Bowl. If Mania is the Rose Bowl, WrestleMania is their biggest event, right? So that'd be like the national championship game.
So
or
and
Rose
again,
Bowl.
I'm not trying to be difficult here. I'm being serious. I nothing against wrestling. I've never gotten into it. So this is the pro wrestling circuit has a number of events over the course of the year.
Yes.
That they build up to, right?
Yes.
And is it always the same weekend? Is Rumble always in February?
If I remember right, Rumble used to be late January. Now it's February. Mania's in April. And then SummerSlam is like August. I don't know when they do Money in the Bank. That was new. It used to be King of the Ring when I was really following it, but it's become Money in the Bank. And then Survivor Series was usually in the fall, like October or November. SummerSlam, I remember watching SummerSlam at Matt Stolman's house the night before school, the first day of school.
Okay.
That's around when the
so
timing
then
of that
SmackDown happens when?
It used to be Thursday nights. I don't know
I'm
what
sorry.
it is now.
I'm sorry. WrestleMania happens when?
In the spring.
And that eventually also will be coming to Indy.
Yes.
And that
All
was-
of these events from
so
the
during,
Big Five.
So during
will come to
Rumble,
Indy.
is anything determined?
It's a big deal to be able to call yourself Rumble champ. I think Cody Rhodes has won the last two. It's a crown jewel event.
Okay.
So it's not your championship. Your national championship would be WrestleMania, right? That'd be your Super Bowl. But this is a big deal. This would be like winning the Rose Bowl or the Sugar Bowl or something like that.
Are you going?
No.
Did you get an invite as Drake Triumph?
No, but I mean, I'm glad that you brought that up. Do you want to? Should we bring Drake Triumph back? You want to do that?
Well, that was just simply your.
We could bring Drake Triumph back.
What just happened there?
This next contest is scheduled for one fall. Making his way to the ring, hailing from Trumbull, Connecticut, weighing in at 119.5 pounds, the 1999 BYW Light Heavyweight Champion, Drake Triumph.
You look ridiculous. Yeah.
Triumph is back. Hey, Indianapolis. Or should I say India no place. I'm back to take the ring, take the belt, and take your girl.
Derek,
I'm so happy that you wanted to see Triumph back.
Are you wearing? Oh my God, he's wearing an entire singlet.
Well, yeah. What did you think,
Derek? I didn't realize there's some belly fat going on there.
Yeah, it's a little tight around. Yeah, it's not. Should I show this full? Yeah. So it does tighten up a little bit here, but yeah. See, it's not that.
I
flattering.
Listen. None of this was planned, at least on my end. And I'd like to apologize. I mean, I think the majority of people that are ingesting this program right now are doing so via audio. And I can tell you, you've never made a smarter decision in your life. Because if you were watching right now on video,
yeah, I disagree.
And you could see what you were looking at essentially looks like the little fire hydrant fella that used to do the PBR ads, right? With your little singlet on and kind of a beer belly going. It's a little bit embarrassing. There's definitely some hair going on the back shoulders, which is disgusting.
No, I don't have anything going on back there. There's nothing going on back there. It's nice and smooth.
Derek dimmed the lights, put on sunglasses that, mind you, were 1992 Oakley's, a little embarrassing. Stared at the camera and I think might have winked. For those of you that are just listening to the audio, might have winked.
No, there's might have. It happened. Yeah, it happened. It's part of its Triumph. It's my alter ego. So I retired. Triumph retired in 2000, right around the Y2K scale.
How old were you?
So here, I'll give you a little bit of backstory for people that aren't following the show.
I can't even look at I'm looking over it. You literally are wearing a.
What's the problem? I'm
you're wearing
you're
wearing a spandex singlet. With very clearly nothing else underneath it, and you're fat. I mean, that's the thing. You know what I mean?
You think this is fat?
Yes.
Oh no.
You have a gut. Yes.
It does. It does have a little.
You have love handles.
Yeah, I do have a love handle right there. Yep, I do. So my build weight of 119.5 pounds. That was when I was 16. I am not 119.5 pounds anymore. In case you couldn't tell, so I could barely fit into this wrestling singlet. And
That's the same one you've had since high school.
Well, yeah, I saved it. I did have
Are
to.
you a pack rat? What else do you have laying around the house?
Well, I saved my stuff from high school. I had to free ball because I couldn't fit with the underwear on there. But that's what I used to do when I was actually a high school wrestler. So back in, to give the story of Drake Triumph was a wrestler in the backyard wrestling promotion. We used to call it BY-Dub. It was a promotion out of southwestern Connecticut in the late 90s. Which was, obviously down the road or up the road, I guess I should say, from Stamford, where WWE, than WWF headquarters was. It was one of the more popular promotions, I think, in southwestern Connecticut at that time. We had 8 wrestlers on it, and I started as the ring announcer, and I started to become more involved in the matches. And they said, Schultz, like, you're really great on the mic, and obviously you look the part, you have the build. Do you want to be part of the promotion, and can you come up with a character? And I said, well, yeah, I could come up with a character because I have this alter ego, and he's called Triumph. And then I added the first name onto it, Drake Triumph. And so I was the 1999 BYW light heavyweight champion. I wrestled in 3 matches.
Who else was competing for the
BYW
light heavyweight championship?
There were a lot. Like what their wrestling names were, or who they actually were?
Sure.
Well, that wasn't an answer to my question, but there were some guys that were in the Long Hill Fire Department. They were volunteer firefighters. Dave Wakely, Frank Novak. I think Steve Vendetti was in there for a while. Stolman was in there. My buddy Stolman. He was part of BYW. We had all kinds of characters. We had a character that was a take on Kane, who was called Rage.
And you had how many matches?
I wrestled in 3.
You had 3 matches.
Yeah, because like I said, I was a ring announcer, but one of them was for a belt. So I won the BYW light heavyweight champion.
Who did you beat?
I beat Rage in that one. Yeah, I hit him with a rake. So we were in my buddy Dave's backyard, and he had kind of like almost like a farm, which was weird in Connecticut. We didn't have a lot of like wide open spaces, but his family had like an acre, and they had a shed, and that's where we had a boombox where we played the intro music, and you'd come out of the shed, and we bought a strobe light, and then you'd walk to the ring that we built, and you could use anything that was on the farm to fight in these matches.
How many people saw this?
We had a camcorder set up. I don't think any of the video footage survived, but we had one of those tripod camcorders, so we would record matches. This is before internet streaming and all of this. This would have been like 1998, 99.
A lot of chicks coming out for it?
We didn't. Dave's sister sometimes would come outside. She had a Chrysler LeBaron that was parked around the back on the other side of the ring. And so Dave's sister would come out sometimes, and we'd have to stop the matches and stop.
How long did Dave's sister stop to really soak it all in?
Well, she didn't stop very long. It was more.
Okay. How old was Dave's sister? Younger or older?
She was 4 years older, and it was more kind of us stopping and soaking it in than it was her stopping.
You took your shoes off.
Yeah, well, yeah, I still have my wrestling boots. You want me to put on the full wrestling boots with the tie-ins? Oh, God. Yeah. The full wrestling boots.
Do you ever have a situation where you're just embarrassed for someone?
Can I tell just one more story here?
Oh,
okay.
Sure.
One more story. So the last time that I brought out Drake Triumph on the show, do you remember? It was in our radio show era. So this would have been like late in the radio show. I want to say like 2018 or 2019. We used to have WWE wrestlers in studio all the time. Whenever they came to Indy,
right.
Our friends
at
Pacers,
not to look at you, but yes,
sports and entertainment friends would bring us a wrestler. And so we had like Lucha Dragons, Kevin Owens. We had Big Show come in one time.
Right.
They're bringing in Charlotte Flair. Mm-hmm. And I had already made the decision before I knew that it was Charlotte Flair coming in that Triumph was gonna come back. Right. So we're gonna bring back Triumph and in front of the wrestler, and I'm gonna have them like grade me. Right. So grade the character, grade the gimmick, the whole deal. So I found out Charlotte Flair, and I'm like, fine, I'm committed. We're still doing this. Most of the wrestlers that we had, in fact, all of them to that point, had been awesome. Really funny, really engaging.
Well, in my
really laid back.
They also were awesome because we were fully dressed and professional.
I don't know if Charlotte just was not a fan or, whatever else. But remember, it was a really bad interview. This is before I got in costume and before I had the gimmick. Like I was just then. So we're recording this interview with Charlotte Flair, and I'm like, this is not going well, but I'm committed. I've got the singlet. I made my intro music and the announcement. I spent like an hour on it. We're doing this. I'm full in. So at the end of the interview, you said something, because you were in on it too. You said something to Charlotte like, Derek's got this stupid gimmick where he comes down and he's Drake Triumph or whatever else. And remember, I left the studio. I came back in. We shut the lights off, turned the lights back on, played the same intro that you guys just heard, and Drake came out. And she could not have been – she wanted to be anywhere else but right there.
Yeah.
And I did kind of feel bad about it because I didn't want to make, like a female wrestler feel weird. Like I didn't want it to be like a chauvinistic, like weird thing or whatever else. I thought it was going to be fun and funny, and we had fun with it, and the listeners had fun with it, but Charlotte Flair did not have fun with it.
Yeah, there's a term called read the room.
Yeah.
Might have benefited you there.
I think any other wrestler that we had there would have been, like R-Truth, like, anybody else that we would have had over the years in studio would have found that to be cool. would relate. I mean, it's a great gimmick. It's a great gimmick. Drake Triumph. I mean, come on. Whole intro and everything. All right.
Again, I'd like to apologize.
Where are my glasses?
Can you put your clothes back on?
Here, I'll just cover up my my region here. Let's get to our quick hits. Come on, Jake. We got a professional show to do. Let's go ahead and get back.
Well, I'm the one that hasn't been professional.
Let's be professionals.
I've just been sitting over here chilling out with my chili water. Thank goodness for that, for the German Pilsner.
The Colts hire a familiar linebacker coach in James Betcher. Betcher is from Lakeville. Went to St. Francis in Fort Wayne, so he's an Indiana guy. Coached at St. Francis. In fact, coached at Ball State.
Linebacker coach previously, right?
Yeah, Chuck Pagano's first year. His first staff, he was the outside linebackers coach. So like Robert Mathis and that group. And spent 5 seasons as an NFL defensive coordinator.
Please?
With the Cardinals. Well, if I put the sweatshirt on, it's still just this area is still
I don't
exposed.
have to see that because the desk covers it. But the you have a lot of acne, like back acne.
I don't have any acne at all. What are you talking about? Look at that.
No.
Smooth. I do like a Y2J, like Chris Rakestraw knows what I'm talking about. Same era. Like when we come out for the front, so it'd be Drake, Triumph, and I'd go like this.
Okay. If you could put the sweatshirt on, it'd be great.
Cardinals and Giants, 2015, 16, 17, and 2018 and 19. So he has DC experience as well. John Morant vowed to pay Zach Edey's fine. You see this? People are like trying to. I think the NBA decided, hey, Zach Edey's a big dude. We're going to try to get over on him, and they can't move him because the dude's like a glacier. Right. David Eubanks tried to he did get thrown out. He ran full steam into Edey, and then he barely moved. And then there was another incident between John and another player. I think it was Keontae George, and Edey came to the rescue. And his teammates are noticing he's having a great season, like 9 points, 8 boards. I mean, Edey already is what my ceiling expectation was for him. And that's as a rookie.
He's a good player.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he could be like a 10-8 type guy, and he's already that. So he's only going to get better from here. Something else kind of scary. Did you see this news? The car ran into a crowd after the Eagles-Commanders game. I mean, especially after what happened in New Orleans and things like that. I mean, I think we're on alert for things like that. Apparently, this was not like a malicious thing. Somebody just ran into a crowd. But I don't know about you, man. It's something that I often think about. When I'm leaving large sporting events, people drive like maniacs to begin with.
Right.
When you're leaving a live sporting event, people are crazy. They're just going through crosswalks and lights and all of that to get out, to beat traffic. And I'm sure this was the case of somebody just driving over aggressively. And it doesn't look like any life-threatening injuries here.
Right?
But yeah, I had that happen to me leaving the Indy Classic. I think it was 2 years ago, and almost. He I felt the wind of the car brushing me because I'm going across the sidewalk. It was a big SUV, and I was just assuming he would stop, which I shouldn't have assumed, I guess. And just about clipped me there.
It's hard to look at you. Matter of fact,
he's impressed.
The best photo of Derek might have been taken actually, and I don't know if we have it here, on Saturday. We went to the IU Indy game, which was fabulous.
It was a great time.
It was a great time, and they were taking on Purdue Fort Wayne. John Kaufman and that group for the Mastodons. And I was really impressed with IU Indy in a number of areas. First off, Paul Casaro, you can just tell, Derek. When you watch certain, you can just tell the way that they played. Obviously came up on the short end, did IU Indy, but they're very well coached. And I loved their ball movement. I also loved the fact that they got down at 1.17, came back into the game, and were there in the end. It was a great day out at the jungle, and that's a cool environment. I mean, you had kids swimming in the natatorium, and then you go into the jungle. There was a good crowd there. It was a lot of fun that we had, and the Metro's uniforms were awesome.
Yeah, and it's neat in the jungle. As much as I like the Fairgrounds Coliseum, and I've defended it as a venue because I think it has a lot of character, I think the Jaguars games are a much better fit for that venue than they were. It's just a little too big, a little too cavernous in the field house, and you get much more of like an intimate, home court atmosphere type feel over there at the jungle. But it was a great time. We appreciate everybody, Ed Holdaway, Lauren Granke, obviously Luke Basso, who upgraded us because we bought our seats and Luke found out we were coming. He's like, nope, you're going courtside and sit next to the mayor. So we had a great time. James had a great time too.
I got to sit next to the actual mayor. You sat next to the figurative mayor.
Yeah, see, like this picture doesn't really tell the full story right here. Yeah.
So
there's James.
Brian Brazzi, who's like the nicest human being on the planet, right? I've known him forever. And I totally apologize. Rake may know. This is Brian's, the woman that Brian works for out at IU Indy, and I'm terrible that I forget her name, but these two work obviously within the athletic department. Mayor Hogsett right here, getting ideas for me and asking, picking my brain. And then over here is Derek's son, James, which is cool. And then you kind of see a small sliver there of Derek.
What I don't get is that...
And IU Indy took that photo, by the way.
You get a chunk of the chair next to Brian, right? All that camera had to do was shift just slightly over.
It was, I think it was very strategic,
right?
By the way, it is time for our IU Indy Jags report.
Let's
Here's
do
our
it.
Jag right here. I'm going to begin with women's basketball, if that's okay. Women's basketball fell to Purdue-Fort Wayne last weekend, 82-55. But Katie Davidson, 27 points in the loss for the Jags. IUIndyJags.com/tickets, by the way, for all of your IU Indy Jags information. I'll just read it right here in terms of what happened. This week, by the way, the Lady Jags return home. They host Milwaukee for homecoming in the winter. That game is going to be tomorrow night if you're watching this on Tuesday. So Wednesday night, it's Color Rush Red Out game. Wear your red, come out, support the the IU Indy women's basketball program, IU Indy Jags. And the first 150 fans are going to get red long sleeve shirts. Then on Sunday, they host Green Bay, 2 o'clock. So 2 chances to see IU Indy women's basketball. Again, we're talking about Wednesday and again on Sunday. Green Bay, and I love this. This is my favorite thing about it, and I want to stress this. Sunday at 2 o'clock for the women's IU Indy game is IPS Day. Students and their families get in free to the game. This is the beauty, as I've always talked about, of having IU Indy right here in downtown Indianapolis. A chance for kids, for example, from IPS or kids that wouldn't normally get the chance to go out and see Division I athletics. It's right here on campus. They can see role models. They can see players that played through IPS and a chance for them to do it. 2 o'clock Sunday in the jungle and getting in free for IPS Day. We'll get to men's basketball in just a second. Tennis. IU Indy men's tennis earned their first victory of 2025 over the UIC Flames. That's Illinois-Chicago, by the way, on Sunday. They are 1-2 on the season. They return to Indianapolis to host Eastern Illinois Friday, and then in Dayton, by the way, on Saturday. So Friday and Saturday at home. All of this takes place at the West Indy Racket Club for tennis. In swimming, fabulous facility. Did you see, by the way, Derek, on the wall, and I had not noticed this before at the natatorium, they have on the wall all of the swimmers that have come through the natatorium that have gone on to swim in the Olympics.
It's very cool. Yeah, very cool.
For Indiana University,
it's
Bloomington,
a who's who,
in Indianapolis, all of it. Men's and women's swim and dive will host Butler and Wabash this coming weekend, Saturday at the natatorium at noon. World-class facility, right? World-class facility. Then hosting Horizon League Swimming and Diving Championships inside the natatorium coming up in mid-February. So check that website, IUIndyJags.com/tickets for all of the information. Now to the men's basketball side of things. We talked about it. We were there for their game in terms of taking on Purdue-Fort Wayne. But before that, they hit 15 threes. You're watching some of them right here in a win over Green Bay up in Green Bay. They beat the Phoenix 86-77. Sean Craig led 4 Jags in double figures. He had 24. Paul Zelenskis, who played really well when we watched him as well, had 21 in that win. And then, as we'd mentioned, against Purdue-Fort Wayne, struggled at home a little bit, but I was very impressed with the way that they fought back. They were wearing and honoring with those awesome uniforms you see right there. The 84-85 team that was honored in those Metro uniforms. Even had a dude behind us in a Metro jersey, Derek, which I thought was cool. Right?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Jags are on the road at Robert Morris and at Youngstown State this week. Then they come back and they host Milwaukee on the 5th of February. So back in the jungle, 5th of February against Milwaukee. IUIndyJags.com/tickets for your Jags. And thank you very much again to Lauren, Luke, everybody out there for their hospitality. Brian Brazzi, all of them. Had a good time. Saw my buddy Frank Davis out there too, season ticket holder.
Yeah,
and
he reads the IBJ.
That is correct.
Reads the
Said
IBJ.
Hi,
Frank.
Reads your articles.
And listens and watches the show,
That's
which
right.
we appreciate very much. We come back, Biter Bull Bleep, Chateau Kitchens, and we will tie a bow on episode 221 Q&S here on the ISC Sports Network.
Put your cloak.
Hey, AC, which games are we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in, it's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Nice snap.
Mortgages and a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Back for a final time. Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. Let's get right to it. Chateau Kitchens. At Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook, chateaukitchens.com. Before and after pictures, you can see their home transformations, and they've transformed my home. They renovated my basement, James's bathroom, which is technically our upstairs guest bathroom. And the first project that they did way back in 2018 was our kitchen.
James doesn't live there?
Well, yeah, it's the guest bathroom / James's bathroom. Even though it's a small shower space because we split the existing master bath into two. So it fits perfectly for James. So often if we have guests stay over, they'll go to the full bathroom that's downstairs outside of the kitchen. Okay. And they'll shower in that one because there's more room. But maybe Chateau will do that. I mean, Chateau's going to do our master bathroom, I think, in 2026. Probably. We're about due to have that done as well. So any of your projects, they can take care of you at Chateau Kitchens, Instagram and Facebook. The photos speak for themselves. Check them out online, and they're going to do amazing, amazing work. Here's statement number 1, Bite or Bull Bleep. No one will talk about Jalen Hurts until he's the reason the Eagles win a game like this. Bite or Bull Bleep. Don't you feel like he's lost in the shuffle?
Right.
Like no one talks about Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and he's played well, right?
He's been good. Yeah. I mean, in a way, I agree in the sense that Lamar has talked about even though he hasn't won a Super Bowl. Josh Allen's talked about even though he hasn't won. And maybe this is the type of thing that Hurts needs for people to start talking about him. Right?
Yeah, so I'll buy what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, how about this?
I think that's fair.
Who has the Super Bowl?
And I don't think he's on the level of those guys. I think Hurts is the next.
Which network is the Super Bowl on?
Fox. Yeah, because Brady's on the call, right?
Because, NBC, when NBC has it, they're very creative. One very underrated aspect of the NBC broadcast is they play we call it in the business the bumper music, but the subtle music that plays as you go to commercial break oftentimes is something that relates to something that just happened or something with the game. So if Philly scores a touchdown, Bite or Bull Bleep, at some point they will subtly play Hurts So Good as the team's running off the field.
A lot of times somebody at NBC is a Fish fan because a lot of times it'll be like you'll hear like Tube or something like that going into a break and you'll just start wanting to jam.
Yeah, okay.
It's awesome.
Is that when that fella gets out there with a vacuum cleaner?
Statement 2, that's something different. Next head coach will not be somebody with ties to the program or even to the state. Bite or Bull Bleep. I mean, Archie Miller would be the last example of that, right? He didn't have any ties.
Well, their last 3.
The state.
Before Woodson, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, Crean, Sampson. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Okay. Dusty May is the only candidate that is going to be somebody that is connected to Bob Knight's Indiana. Outside of that, if they don't get Dusty May, then I think they would like to do a total cleanse. Not in a knock on Bob Knight, but just a total reset, start over in every way, shape, or form. Brad Stevens is going to be their first call. Brad Stevens declined the job once before. There are some that believe that he may, for the first time, be interested, but that's going to be the first call. They're going to make him say no. Dusty May is phone call number 2. And if Dusty May, who apparently has an out in his contract, is interested, then it stops there. If Dusty May decides, as he may, pardon the pun, that Michigan is a good job and that he'd rather stay there, then it's open season. And to your point, Derek, then you buy it, what you're saying, because I believe personally there's going to be a list there, but the list then, I think the third call then goes to Bruce Pearl. And he has some connection to Indiana because he coached
USI,
Southern Indiana,
yeah.
but yeah.
In the Midwest, just in general,
right?
No, I think that would be smart, actually, for Indiana to I think they should do what football did and somewhat pretend that the program didn't exist before their next coach. Right. And I know that'd be hard for some people, be a harsh reality. And, you can still take some things from the past, right? You don't have to do an entire clean break, but just get, Buckner, everybody, just the old guard gone, start clean again and try it again. Try to do a hard reset. Statement number 3, this actually came from a show listener this week talking about the Rumble. Jake and Derek should do a celebrity wrestling match fundraiser. He doesn't want any of this smoke.
What?
He doesn't want any of this smoke. You don't want triumph. Maybe me in the ring, even though I think I would physically I would best you in a match. But if I brought out triumph, there'd be no chance. No chance.
Sure. I think, that Drake, people think he's kind of a fraud rapper. Yeah. So I guess you're a fraud triumph.
You have no chance. Because at the end of the night, triumph will be triumphant. You got to say, you're not doing like what the crowd would do. That's what the
you
crowd
had no
would do.
crowd. One guy's
That's
sister
what-
that went out to get her car.
That's what the crowd would do.
That's your crowd.
My finishing move was the triumphant. So at the end of the night, triumph will be triumphant.
What crowd was yelling
Okay,
that?
just forget it. You
Stolman with his camera?
Just like everything else, anything else that I've done that I'm passionate about, you just stomp
You did
on
this
it.
twice, and then some
You just
dude broke
ruin
his
it.
arm.
You just Greg Sanford separated his shoulder, and then there was no more, no more BY dub. That was at a pay-per-view event, actually. That was one of our pay-per-view events.
Who was paying?
This is what I'm talking about. It's just a saying. It's one of our crown jewel events.
You were paying people to come view it? No. The dude's sister made $5
Thank
of
you
gas
to
money
our great sponsors,
going to her LeBaron.
Chateau
She's
Kitchens.
like, yeah, my brother and his dork friends
Our
gave me
presenting
$5
sponsor, Bailey and Wood Financial
to yell out
Group, who
some
we always
triumphant
appreciate.
crap.
Hoagies
Okay.
and Hops and Chili Water Tap
Pay-per-view.
Room, and of course our friends at IU Indy Jags Athletics. Thanks to Vince and thanks to Rake for not stomping on my dreams. For Jake, I'm Derek.
It's like an Oompa Loompa guy in
will
the
see you next
backyard
time
next to my car.
here on Query and
I don't know
Schultz.
what's going on.
ISC Sports Network.
Okay. Sure.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.